On a Tuesday morning in March, Claire deleted Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter from her phone. She didn't announce it. She didn't post a goodbye message. She didn't explain her reasons or set a return date. She just quietly closed the apps and removed them. By Thursday, her phone felt like a different object. By the following week, her mind felt like a different place. Nobody noticed for 11 days. When they did notice, the questions came fast. Why didn't you tell anyone? Are you okay? Did something happen? How long are you gone for? Is this permanent? The questions all contained the same assumption, that her absence required explanation, that her choice needed justification, that leaving without announcement was somehow wrong. But Claire had learned something important. The people who announce they're leaving rarely leave, and the people who actually leave rarely announce it. Here's what psychologists are discovering. The act of publicly declaring your intention to change creates a phenomenon called social reality substitution. Your brain gets a hit of accomplishment from the announcement itself. The declaration becomes a replacement for the action. You feel like you've already done the thing you said you'd do, so the motivation to actually do it drops dramatically. Research from NYU psychology department found that when people publicly commit to a goal, they're significantly less likely to achieve it than people who keep the goal private. The public commitment satisfies the same psychological need that the achievement would have satisfied. Your brain can't tell the difference between performing change and embodying change, so it rewards the performance and removes the drive for the embodiment. Claire had watched this pattern for years. Every January, her feed filled with friends announcing their transformations. I'm quitting social media to focus on real life. Taking a break from Instagram to prioritize mental health. Deleting all apps for 30 days. Wish me luck. The announcements got hundreds of likes. Supportive comments flooded in. So proud of you. I should do this too. You're so brave. And then within a week, the same people were back, posting as if the announcement had never happened. No acknowledgement of the return. No explanation of what changed. The performance of leaving had satisfied the need. The actual leaving became unnecessary. But the people who genuinely left, they just disappeared. No fanfare, no explanation, no countdown. One day they were there, the next they weren't. And when you asked them about it months later, they'd shrug and say something like, I just didn't need it anymore, like it was the most natural thing in the world. This reveals something deeper about personality psychology. There's a fundamental difference between external validators and internal validators. External validators derive their sense of self from others' perceptions and reactions. Internal validators derive their sense of self from their own lived experience and values alignment. External validators need to announce change because the announcement is part of the change. The visibility is essential. If others don't witness it, validate it, acknowledge it, it doesn't feel real. The transformation exists in the perception, not in the action. Internal validators don't announce because the announcement is irrelevant to the actual change. They're not performing for an audience. They're responding to an internal misalignment. Something doesn't fit anymore, so they adjust. Whether anyone notices is beside the point. Dr. Sherry Turkle at MIT has studied this extensively. She found that people with strong internal locus of control, those who believe their life is directed by their own choices rather than external forces, are significantly more likely to make changes without public declaration. They don't need permission, validation, or witnesses. The decision is between them and their own integrity. Claire was an internal validator, though she hadn't always been. In her early 20s, she'd been addicted to external validation. Every decision was filtered through, what will people think? She'd stay in relationships too long, because breaking up felt like admitting failure. She'd keep jobs she hated because quitting seemed weak. She'd maintain friendships that drained her because ending them would look cold. And she'd performed every small change like it was a Broadway show. I'm trying this new diet. I'm committing to morning workouts. I'm reading more this year. Each declaration followed by photos, updates, progress reports. The performance was exhausting, and nothing ever stuck because the performance was the point, not the transformation. The shift happened when she was 29. She'd been dating someone for 3 years. Everyone thought they were perfect together. Their friends shipped them. Their families asked about marriage. Their social media presence was couple goals. But Claire was deeply unhappy. The relationship had become a performance. They looked good together, but they didn't feel good together. She knew she needed to end it. But the thought of the announcement paralyzed her. What would she post? How would she explain it? What would people think when the perfect couple suddenly wasn't? She spent months agonizing over the optics, the narrative, the public story. Then one night, she realized something. She was more concerned with how the breakup would look than whether she should actually do it. The external validation had become more important than her internal truth. That realization was devastating and liberating in equal measure. She ended the relationship the next day. She didn't post about it. When people asked, she said simply, "We broke up. I'm okay." She didn't explain. She didn't justify. She didn't perform grief or relief or growth. She just lived the reality privately while everyone else adjusted to it publicly. And for the first time in her life, a major change actually stuck. Not because people witnessed it, but because it wasn't for them. It was for her. That experience rewired something. Claire started noticing how much of her life was performance. The carefully curated Instagram feed that showed only wins, never struggles. The LinkedIn profile that broadcast ambition, but hid doubt. The Facebook updates that performed a version of life that looked good, but didn't always feel good. She wasn't lying exactly, but she was editing, constantly editing, choosing what to show, what to hide, what angle to present. It was exhausting, and more importantly, it was distorting her relationship with her own life. She'd have an experience and immediately think about how to post it. The posting became more important than the living. Research from the University of Pennsylvania found that heavy social media users show decreased ability to process their own emotions without external feedback. They literally lose the capacity to know how they feel about something until they see how others react to it. The internal compass gets overridden by the external chorus. Claire felt this acutely. She'd stopped trusting her own reactions. If she posted a photo and it got low engagement, she'd retroactively decide the experience wasn't that good. If she shared a thought and it got lots of likes, she'd decide it was more profound than she'd originally thought. Her sense of reality was being shaped by metrics designed to maximize her screen time, not her well-being. So, on that Tuesday in March, she deleted the apps. No announcement. No explanation. Just a quiet exit. The first week was disorienting. She'd reach for her phone dozens of times out of pure habit. The muscle memory of scrolling was so deep she'd unlock her phone, stare at the empty space where the apps used to be, then lock it again. But something else was happening too. Without the constant input, her mind got quieter. She'd be sitting on the train and just sit, looking out the window, thinking out the window. Not performing thoughts, just having them. She'd eat lunch and just eat, not photograph it, caption it, post it, check the reactions. The experience became sufficient unto itself. By the second week, she noticed her attention span returning. She could read for an hour without checking her phone. She could have a conversation without mentally drafting how she'd summarize it later. She could feel an emotion without immediately needing to broadcast it or have it validated. Dr. Cal Newport, who studies the psychology of digital minimalism, explains this as the restoration of solitude. Not physical aloneness, but mental solitude. The ability to be alone with your own thoughts without constant external input. Heavy social media use destroys solitude because you're never truly alone. You're always performing for, or consuming from, an invisible audience. Claire's solitude returned, and with it, clarity. She started noticing what she actually liked versus what got good engagement. She started pursuing interests that had no online component, no shareable outcome, no visible metric. She took long walks, she journaled, she had conversations that would never become content. Her friends and family found this disturbing. "Why are you being so secretive? What are you hiding? Are you depressed? They interpreted her privacy as pathology, In a culture that equates visibility with validity, choosing invisibility seems like choosing irrelevance. Or worse, like having something to hide. But Claire wasn't hiding. She was just living without an audience. And there's a profound psychological difference. Living with an audience means curating, filtering, optimizing for perception. Living without an audience means experiencing directly, responding authentically, choosing based on internal alignment rather than external reaction. 6 months after deleting social media, Claire ran into an old college friend, Jessica, at a coffee shop. Jessica was surprised. "Oh my God, I thought you'd moved away or something." "You completely disappeared," Claire smiled. "I'm still here. I just got off social media." Jessica looked confused. "But you didn't say anything. You just vanished." "I didn't think it needed an announcement." Jessica processed this. "Weren't you worried people would think something was wrong? If something was wrong, I'd tell the people who needed to know. Everyone else doesn't need access to my decisions." This hit Jessica hard. She'd been thinking about leaving social media for over a year. She'd drafted the goodbye post a dozen times. She'd imagined the reactions, prepared responses to the inevitable questions, planned her return. The mental energy she'd spent on the potential announcement was massive, and she still hadn't left. "I can't just disappear," Jessica said. "People would worry." Claire considered this. Would they worry? Or would they just notice you're not performing anymore? The question landed. But Jessica realized that most of her social media connections weren't actually concerned with her well-being. They were used to her content. Her absence would be felt not as concern for her, but as a gap in their feed. "The people who actually care about you have your phone number," Claire said gently. "The people who only know you through curated posts don't need an explanation for why you stopped curating." 3 weeks later, Jessica deleted her apps. No announcement, no goodbye. She texted Claire. "I did it. I just left." Claire texted back. "How do you feel?" "Terrified and free." That's the psychology of people who delete social media without telling anyone. They've reached a point where internal alignment matters more than external validation. They've realized that announcement culture is performance culture. They've understood that real change doesn't require an audience. It requires commitment. They're not better than people who announce their changes. They're just wired differently. Or they've rewired themselves through experience. They've learned that the loudest declarations often precede the smallest follow-throughs. And the quietest exits often precede the deepest transformations. Here's what researchers have found. People who make major life changes without public announcement have higher rates of sustained change. Not because silence makes you more disciplined, but because the motivation is intrinsic, not extrinsic. You're not doing it for likes, comments, or validation. You're doing it because it aligns with who you're becoming. Dr. Edward Dishi's work on self-determination theory explains this perfectly. Intrinsically motivated change, change that comes from internal values and authentic interest, is vastly more sustainable than extrinsically motivated change, change driven by external rewards or others' perceptions. When you announce your change publicly, you shift the motivation from intrinsic to extrinsic. You're now changing to maintain the image you've created with your announcement. The person who deletes social media without telling anyone isn't performing strength. They're embodying autonomy. They've decided that their relationship with technology, their attention, their mental space, is between them and themselves, not them and their 847 followers. Now let me ask you something. If you deleted social media right now, would you feel compelled to announce it first? Would you need to explain why? Would you draft the perfect goodbye post, the one that frames your exit as growth, evolution, self-care? If yes, that impulse is worth examining. Not because it's wrong, but because it reveals where your locus of control sits. External or internal, audience or self. Here's the practice. Make one change this week that nobody knows about. Not your partner, not your best friend, not your followers. Something small, a habit you add or remove, a boundary you set, a choice you make differently. Do it purely for internal alignment. See how it feels to change without witnesses. Notice the urge to share it. Notice if the change feels less real because nobody saw it. Notice if you question whether it counts if it's not visible. That urge, that question, that doubt, it's the external validation system running. It's been trained into you by a culture that profits from your performance. The people who delete social media without announcement aren't special. They've just started trusting that change doesn't need to be seen to be real. That transformation can be private. That you can become someone new without an audience confirming the becoming. Comment below if you've ever made a major change without telling anyone, or if you've noticed the pattern of people announcing changes they never complete. When you share it, you're not performing. You're creating community with others who've chosen internal validation over external performance. The quietest exits often lead to the loudest transformations, not because anyone's watching, but because nobody needs to be.